What's up, world? It's your main man, King Cheziel Sons. This is Truth Lives Radio.
The only thing that remains the same is change itself. You have to train the mind to adjust to that. Never get comfortable. Once upon a time, in our history as a species, we were less connected with our minds. We identified less with our minds. It was more of a group thought. In a sense, we were not just connected with the nature, we were the nature. Things weren't happening to us. We were in continuity with everything around us. And it's difficult to put ourselves in that frame of mind because we're so attached to identity and we identify ourselves with our desires and with our needs. Whereas it was simply common for these people to think of themselves as another component within nature. We could feel our connection with the wind, with the sand under us. Whenever something took place in the ancient world, a natural occurrence, instead of asking ourselves, why did this bad thing happen? We didn't necessarily even look at this thing as bad or good because we didn't have that same identification. It was just something that took place and we understood it in an instinctive way. We understood that it was cyclical. We understood that destruction brought about new life. That was something that didn't have to be explained. It didn't have to be written down. It didn't have to be explained and written down until those people started to lose a connection with that. And what we're trying to do and what a lot of gurus and teachers are trying to do today is trying to get us to align back with that thing that can't really be described. And we're going to have another revolution. And it's hard for people to see how that revolution is going to look because we're so fascinated with the technological revolution that we've been a part of. Well, in this technological revolution, technology has accelerated to a point where it was unimaginable 25, 30 years ago. It won't continue at that pace. It will continue to grow and get better at a steady pace. But the revolution is now. So there will be another revolution in the future. Just like in the past, you have the Industrial Revolution, the Scientific Revolution. You had these revolutions, and now you have the technological revolution. In the future, I believe we're going to have a conscious revolution. Artificial intelligence and quantum computing, that's going to push humans to another level when it comes to thinking about our world. We don't think the same way about our world as people 200 years ago thought about theirs. But in a revolution, we're going to take up the 100 years or 50 years worth of time in a 10-year time span. You get what I'm saying? So instead of it being a natural progression of consciousness, I think we're going to get that same level of consciousness in about 50 to 100 years within a conscious revolution. And as we go through a biological change and we merge with AI and become cyborgs, that's going to initiate this conscious revolution, and it's going to change everything. I think it's going to change the world. It's going to change how we think about spirituality, religion, and science. I think it's going to be accompanied with technology, biology, history. It's going to be accompanied with all of the knowledge that we know and that we acquire leading up to that time. But that conscious revolution is going to be something that transitions us at that particular time into something that we can't conceive of today. And this is going to be something separate from the technological revolution. This is going to be a conscious shift, a true conscious shift.
The seraphim, cosmic eye itself inside this nether realm. The terror lives deep inside our minds and it projects and saying you missing shit. Since not your religion, since not where you live, intentions is many judging books and they ain't read the link. We're in the mix. Angels carry poles, horror shimmers, gold, decipher codes. Step inside this circle, you'll pay with your soul. Lead and chose. I just came to flow. Guess that's all I know.
What up, you guys? I was just reading a little bit of the Tao Te Ching, and in there they said something that made my light bulb kind of go off, and it's something that I always say. That's why I say that these proverbs and these ancient teachings, they live inside of us, because I find myself regurgitating some of these ancient teachings without never hearing any of them. That's how I know it's true. It lives in you. The universe is inside of you. When you close your eyes, you view that Tao. But what they said that really made a light bulb go off just hearing it, not that it was anything new that I hadn't heard before, but just hearing it in that book from who knows how long ago, they said something along the lines, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me. When it comes to the earth, don't alter it or you will ruin it. Don't alter it or you will ruin it. And that just resonated with me. That resonated with men of today and of our history. I see that men worship other men. And even in their ignorance, they don't realize they're worshiping men. It's like that post that I put out a couple years ago. Man will worship man's mind. Man will worship man's intellect. Man will worship man's inventions. And men are going to do things that we can't fathom, that people in our past couldn't fathom. And today we're going to do things in our future that we can't fathom now. And that's going to cause a lot of people who don't have a connection with the all to put a unrealistic view on themselves and on men in general without even them knowing it, without them even doing it consciously. It's just going to be a result of religion and spirituality declining. You understand what I'm saying? That's the effect. That's going to be the effect of that. You're going to have something in place of that, because if you look at any psychologist, you go talk to anybody who studies this type of stuff, and they'll tell you human beings are most healthy mentally when we're in good relationships. So if you're alone and you're disassociating, chances are you're not going to be as healthy mentally. And also by believing in something. Religion, you know how I am. And a lot of times, you guys, I'm talking out of frustration, and this is just a germ. But religion and spirituality, actually contradicting what I say, is healthy, because whatever adaptation that we went through caused us to have to believe in something, or it'll give us a sense of hopelessness. But that Tao Te Ching proverb, or whatever you want to call it, it resonated deep with me because it's something that I say, but just in a different way, just in different words and different terminology. Obviously, this is ancient. And I just kind of laughed. It was like, man, I say that all the time. But I say it in a modern way because I don't want to make it sound like I'm devaluing all of these great men and minds who come up with medicine, technology, and improved our standard of living by creating things that have made us much more comfortable. Roads, houses, technologies, cars, electricity, everything. You guys name it. It's great. I think that it's balance. That's one thing that this podcast is going to speak heavily about, especially when we're talking spirituality. So when it comes to spirituality, balance is important. So even though we can agree that all of these things improved our fertility rate, everything, right? There's a downside to everything. There's positive and negative in everything. That's law. Regardless of your belief system, I'm looking at something that I observe every day, 24/7, before I go to sleep, when I wake up. It's a law. Everything's cause and effect. Everything's polarity amongst these other universal laws. No different here. So whatever you pull out, that's what you get in, baby. That's all I'm saying. So with the advent of modernity, and the more we've progressed, there's a downside to that. So that brings me back to the Tao Te Ching proverb. He said, you will ruin it. And some of the sentences that were before he got to that particular, sentence, proverb, was basically him saying, like, leave it alone. This is something that has already been put in place. We're already been put in place. There's nothing you have to do to it. And this book obviously is on, Tao Te Ching and the Tao and what that is, it being everything and nothing. So I think a lot goes in with that, obviously. And it says something about the more you talk about it, the more vast it gets. The less you know about it, the more you talk about it. That's why you sit and be it. You become the Tao. You understand what I'm saying? By sitting and talking about it, you lose more and more understanding on it. It'll trip you out. This whole concept of the Tao is trippy. It's something deeper than just a philosophy. You start to feel it after a while. You close your eyes and you know exactly what they're talking about, because that's when it manifests, is in your stillness. You know, you start to actually become one with everything. And instead of being outside of everything, you see how everything is working through you, or at least what role you play. I think there's levels to it. You understand what I'm saying? So it just was fascinating to me that this ancient book had said the same similar thing that I said. I put it in a video 2 years ago. I hadn't read the Tao Te Ching, and I put in a video just based on what lives inside of me, you know, just me seeing and observing the world and seeing that. And it's crazy that Lao Tzu, you know, whoever, you know, seen it too. They saw the same thing. That always blows my mind, man, when I'm reading or listening to something from 100, 200 years ago, even thousands of years ago, and they'll say something, they ain't never read it, that I've said or I've seen. It's just, it trips me out, because it's like, man, that we're in the same world. We have that same outlook. And that kind of brings me to the world that we have now, full of chaos, full of division, full of confusion. I think that that is a direct result. That's a byproduct of all these things that we have that are outside of us. And the more that we attach with the mind, with identity, with the self, the more that we're going to disassociate with our true nature, Buddha nature. You know, I guess you want to call it whatever you want to call it, man. Because we're just building. That's what this is about. This isn't about us getting in an argument about some identification or phrases. We're just literally talking. And I think that we've lost that because of political correctness in today's time. We're not allowed to just do this in public like how I'm doing it now, and letting ourselves be vulnerable and just talking, saying what we feel. This is what's going to cause us to understand each other in a way where we are going to have this conscious revolution that I'm talking about. We can't go outside of ourselves for those answers. You know, and I know a lot of people will argue, well, a lot of the things within us, just like I've mentioned too, are illusions. But we got to find that out too. Like I said in the last one, like if we just stay in our comfortable position, how you even know is anything wrong with you? If it's everybody's just validating you and everybody just thinks like you. We need to do this, even if it's flawed. This can be a model for our children and descendants of the future. You know what I mean? Instead of running from ourselves. What are we running for? This is who we are. Like, we are a complex of brilliance, kindness, mercy, empathy, consideration. And on the other side of it, we are wretched, evil, inconsiderate, murderous, hypocrites. You know what I mean? The whole nine. So we're both. We're fact and we're fiction. You know what I mean? We're our desires and our faith. That's humanity. That's what we are. And sitting around or running around being phony or trying to cater to a political ideology or some social group, you're not going to be remembered by doing that, because everybody's just going to know you as a parrot. You didn't have any impact. And that's what I'm chasing, impact. Something that people aren't doing, people aren't saying and repeating over and over again. Letting you guys see my flaws, letting you guys see my shortcomings. I'm not some robot. I have prejudices too. I'm working though, because my goal is the great work. You understand? Like, this is my life's work. Studying all of this stuff, this mythology, these philosophies, from Socrates to Plato, Tesla and Einstein, and all of these people, all of these great people. That's what I do. Because the people who are trying to push democracy and inclusion so much and so hard, they don't even believe that. They don't even believe that. They've created tyranny in the pursuit of democracy. By trying to create democracy, you did the very same thing that the fascists want to do. You did the very same thing. Didn't even realize it, or maybe you did. By forcing people into inclusion, it's still force. By forcing people into democracy, it's still force. But by definition, you believe that this is the best thing for people. But by doing that, you fall in the same trap as our ancestors did. We need to face ourselves. Because Gaia is going to reflect that anyway. You can't lie to her. And what you guys see in the world: hunger, corruption, the misuse of power, famine, disease, mental health problems. Everything has been flipped upside down. With all of this so-called inclusion and democracy and technology, look at the world. Look at it. People living paycheck to paycheck in the West, and people barely surviving in the third world nations. Look at the world. And you got that 1% of the 1% who play with billions of dollars. Got a debt ceiling that's in the trillions. That's totally unrealistic. Who do we owe? A system that's set up to destroy us, not kill us, because we're already facing death. Death is all of our future, but that's looking to destroy our spirit, to make us fold in a way where we have absolutely no hope and we are just dependent on Him. This is our world. If you're not in equilibrium with nature, then you've gone against your own.